Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping right into quite an extraordinary story from one man's autobiography, Scott Brown's.
Right.
And this isn't just your typical political bio. It's more like, well, a roadmap for resilience built out of sheer instability and, frankly, some really unconventional choices.
Exactly. And our goal here really is to look past the headlines, the dramatic bits, and figure out how a childhood that was just defined by chaos, poverty, even violence,
Yeah.
how that actually became the foundation for his political identity.
Right.
We're digging into the survival skills, the adaptability, that determination, that kind of fierce independence that came directly out of that upbringing.
And the instability, it's not an exaggeration. We're talking foundational chaos. I mean, the source says he moved 17 times.
17 times.
And lived in at least 12 different homes by the time he was 18, often sleeping, not even in a proper bed, couches, cots, sometimes literally crammed under the eaves.
Yeah, that paints a picture, doesn't it? That rootlessness is key context right from the start. And all that moving around meant, well, constant money worries, real physical hardship. The book details this environment where lack of money wasn't just inconvenient. It led to acts of sheer desperation just to survive.
Yeah, the stories about hunger are pretty intense. He describes being so hungry he'd hang around the meat counter at the grocery store and he'd slip packages of hamburger, sometimes sirloin steaks, behind his overalls or in his bag.
And the way he framed it in his head is fascinating. Not really thinking of it as theft, but more like...
Like he was rescuing it?
Exactly. Saving it from the dumpster, he said, because he was genuinely starving.
Wow. But what's striking is the discipline that came out of that. He didn't just take it.
No, not at all. He learned to cook it himself, pan-frying, figuring it out as he went, and he'd share it with his younger half-sister, Leanne, who was only about 6 at the time.
And then the cover-up.
Oh, absolutely. The operational security, you could call it. He had to clean up every single trace, open windows in winter, use air freshener, everything, so their mother wouldn't find out they'd eaten.
So at that young age, he's already being the provider, the meticulous planner, hiding his own survival.
Forced into it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that instability, it wasn't just poverty. It was hugely amplified by his mother's relationships, particularly with abusive men.
Right. There was the early stepfather, Dan Sullivan, heavy drinker.
Yeah, and the incident with the kitten, Tiger. That just jumps out.
Horrible.
It really is. He was 5. Dan just smacked the kitten off the couch because it was in his way. Had to be put down.
Yeah.
And Brown writes that this was the first time he felt pure, burning hate. Like absolute malice.
God, at 5 years old, how does that kind of early raw trauma, how does that maybe prepare him or shape how he dealt with the later abuse from Larry, which sounds like it was even worse?
It seems like it sharpened his senses almost. Larry's abuse was definitely escalating, choking his mother, pinning her against walls. Having already felt that, profound sense of betrayal with the kitten, he got very good at anticipating conflict with Larry. Survival instinct?
He learned to read him.
Yeah, the book says he learned to read Larry as a farmer reads the weather, always scanning for those tiny signals that things were about to blow up.
And Larry's threat. I mean, that's just chilling. When you're asleep, I'll take you out, especially given Larry's hand injuries.
Right, the sawed-off stumps from an industrial accident. He'd used those hands in the abuse. That threat created this constant state of hypervigilance, always looking over your shoulder.
It's a terrible way to live, but you can see how it builds a certain skill set.
Yeah.
Always anticipate, always have an escape plan, never fully trust things are okay.
Exactly. A skill set born purely from having to survive day to day.
And that life, that sort of constant precariousness, it leads to this moment in his teens, the shoplifting incident that turns into something unexpected.
Yeah, getting caught stealing albums Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, classic teenage stuff from a record store at the mall, wearing his junior high basketball jacket.
He wasn't alone though, right?
No, he was with friends. And it turned out the friends had lifted like 20 or 30 other records from earlier stops. When security nabbed them, his first thought wasn't even jail, it was
Basketball.
Yeah, what about basketball? What about school? That was his structure, his one stable thing. He was terrified of losing that.
But the judge, Samuel Zoll, he handled it differently.
Very differently. He actually listened. And instead of locking him up, he gave him this really unusual sentence. Write a 1,500-word essay.
On a very specific topic.
Right. How I disappointed my brother and sisters and how I think they would like to see me play basketball in jail. Heavy stuff.
And he took it seriously.
He really did. He didn't just dash it off. He obsessed over making it good, calling his probation officer about grammar, structure. It shows how much impact a mentor can have. Someone who saw it wasn't about being bad, but about needing direction. Discipline.
And that discipline, that focus he found writing the essay, it connects right back to his real lifeline, sports.
Basketball was like the structure his home life just couldn't provide.
Oh, absolutely. Total anchor.
Yeah.
His commitment was, well, borderline obsessive, riding his bike miles in the snow.
Carrying a shovel.
Carrying a shovel just to clear the court so he could shoot hoops for hours until his fingers were literally numb, using his body as a tool for control when everything else was chaos.
And he used that intensity mentally too, right? Like tuning things out.
Yeah, his mother apparently was really enthusiastic at games, but maybe a bit much. Shouting at refs, that kind of thing.
Embarrassing, yeah.
So he trained himself to just block it all out. All the noise, her shouting, everything. Just focus completely on the ball. That's a powerful skill, achieving that mental quiet under pressure.
And that physical drive, it was also an emotional outlet, like that bike ride.
Oh, the 35-mile ride to Newburyport, escaping a huge fight at home, just pedaling until his legs were, quote, a stew of lactic acid, flesh, and bone.
He found that pushing himself to total physical exhaustion was the only way to get inner peace, to just shut down his mind. The pain kind of cleansed him.
You can see how that kind of grit, that endurance, leads straight to the military. He joined the Army National Guard. Was it just for the discipline?
Partly, but also very pragmatically, he needed the income. He wanted to go to law school.
Ah, okay.
And basic training immediately threw him back into that familiar need for vigilance. His drill sergeant Brown.
Same last name.
Yep. Claimed they were distant relations and basically told him, I'm going to be all over your shit every single day.
So more hypervigilance, but this time channeled institutionally.
Exactly. Which brings us to that, let's call it memorable, airborne school story.
The airsick bag incident.
Yeah. He was determined not to throw up on the plane, the fumes, the motion, but eventually nature calls. He uses the bag.
Successfully contained it?
Successfully contains it, tucks the paper bag into his shirt for the jump.
Big mistake.
Huge. Lands, impact, bag bursts. He finishes the training covered in, well, you know.
And still gets an award.
Still gets the trainee of the cycle award. Covered in vomit. It perfectly captures that unconventional determination.
It really does. It's such a contrast, though. Military award winner, covered in puke. And then the next step is modeling to pay for law school.
It speaks volumes about his adaptability, right?
Yeah.
Survival means using whatever tools you have. He needed money for his JD. Posing for Cosmopolitan magazine was a way to get it.
So purely practical for him.
That's how he frames it. It helped to pay my way through law school. Not an ego trip, just mission accomplished.
And it wasn't just Cosmo, right? The modeling thing continued.
Oh, yeah. He landed a big contract, like $20,000 for Jordak jeans. Ended up on a massive billboard in Times Square.
Wow.
And maybe the weirdest one, he was the hand model for hockey legend Bobby Orr.
Seriously. Just the hands.
Just the hands. In a bank ATM commercial. It's just this collection of experiences that most politicians definitely don't have on their resumes. So let's pivot to his adult life, how these threads kind of weave together. Meeting his wife, Gail.
Right, those at a club. While filming a beer commercial.
Yeah, a Miller beer commercial.
Yeah.
He was there because he'd won a Richard Gere lookalike contest his friend Seth sponsored.
You can't make this stuff up.
Pretty much. He saw Gail spill some food, went over with a napkin. Smooth move, I guess.
And the first date outfit.
Oh, the salmon-colored leather shorts.
$1,500 worth of shorts.
Yeah, I got them from walking a runway show. Apparently, Gail was, let's just say, not exactly blown away by the fashion statement.
I can imagine. Then came family life, the Mr. Mom phase.
Right. After their daughter Ayla was born, difficult breech birth, Gail was hospitalized afterwards. He talks about the sheer pressure of it all.
Yeah.
Mowing the lawn, hearing crying, running inside.
And finding both Gail and the baby crying, milk spraying everywhere.
Exactly. Just this raw snapshot of domestic chaos that he's now navigating as the primary caregiver, at least for a bit.
And that self-reliance thing, it just keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Like moving into their house in Rentham.
Oh, yeah. The house was a mess, a bankruptcy sale. Winter, he refused to pay movers.
So he did it himself?
Moved the washer, dryer, refrigerator by himself over ice and snow, wearing army fatigues.
What did the neighbors think?
Well, his neighbor happened to be Dante Scarnecchia, the Patriots coach, watched the whole thing from his window and apparently concluded his new neighbor must be some kind of survivalist nut.
Uh-huh. But you can see the connection, right? That same, I'll do it myself no matter how hard attitude.
That's the bridge. That's precisely the mindset that lets him think he can take on the political establishment later. If he can move a fridge across ice alone, maybe he can take on entrenched politicians.
And his entry into local politics, town assessor, state rep, was sparked by seeing people treated badly.
Yeah, watching local selectmen being disrespectful to citizens, having experienced ultimate disrespect himself as a kid being abused, ignored it, fueled this drive to protect regular people from what he saw as government arrogance.
So his fiscal conservatism wasn't just theory.
Not at all. It came straight from the hunger, the hardship. He knew the value of a dollar earned the hard way. So he looked at government spending with extreme skepticism. He positioned himself as the guy protecting your wallet because he knew what it felt like to have an empty one.
Which sets the stage perfectly for that 2010 Senate race, the shock win.
Totally.
Yeah.
Running as a Republican in Massachusetts for Ted Kennedy's old seat. The state hadn't elected a Republican senator since, what, 1972?
Massive underdog. The ultimate outsider role again.
He started down 31 points. But it was 2010, right? That anti-establishment energy was building. And suddenly, all those unconventional parts of his story, the military time, the modeling, the blue-collar image...
Which became authentic.
Exactly. It felt authentic compared to his opponent, Martha Coakley, who came across as much more an institutional insider.
And the debates were key. Coakley's "I'm not in your courtroom" line.
Oof, yeah. That played right into his narrative. Her as the elite, him as the scrappy fighter.
And the foreign policy mistakes she made.
Huge mistake. Saying al-Qaeda was gone from Afghanistan. You put that next to Brown's 3 decades in the National Guard. It just highlighted a disconnect. Made his military background suddenly seem like a really potent credential.
It all just built momentum. Validated that campaign slogan.
It's not the Kennedy seat, it's the people's seat. The contrast just became undeniable. The survivalist nut next door, the resilient fighter, strategically positioned against what looked like institutional complacency.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger calls after the win.
Yeah, perfect bookend, right? Another unconventional guy in politics. Here's Brown, got Kennedy's old office space and shouts to his wife, Maria, Maria, it's not Uncle Teddy's office, it's the people's office. Captures the whole vibe. Hashtag, outro. You know, he uses the spider web analogy himself to explain it all. He sees every single bad thing, the hunger, the abuse, the stealing, all the chaos, not as things that held him back, but as necessary threads.
Integral parts of the structure.
Exactly. Interlocking pieces that built who he is. He actually says he wouldn't change any of it because those struggles created his unique strengths.
It's powerful to say that looking back, especially from success. But I wonder, does that constant survival mode, that hypervigilance he learned as a kid, does that ever become a liability? Maybe make someone too intense, too uncompromising later on?
That's a really fair question. It suggests that kind of drive, while incredibly useful, might be hard to switch off, that always anticipate the threat mode could be tough in collaboration, maybe. But the flip side, and something powerful in his story, is this theme of second chances. Look at his parents.
They reconciled later.
Yeah, despite everything awful in the early years, they got back together and were actively involved in his campaigns, holding signs, fundraising. It's a strong testament to believing people can change and reconnect.
So, that leaves us with a thought for you, listening. If adversity really can forge unique strengths, like Brown believes it did for him, how do you look back at your own life? Can you maybe identify those non-sticky threads, as you might call them, those experiences that felt painful or difficult at the time, but maybe unknowingly equipped you, protected you, or pushed you forward in ways you didn't realize? Something to think about.